Wow, I did not know how much I wish someone had explained to me this expectation you have is unrealistic. This is week 14 postpartum with my first baby as a new mom, and wow, I feel the best that I have since giving birth. Oh my goodness. I just took a shower, if you can't tell, while my baby is napping, and that's the first time I've been able to do that with confidence, or enough confidence, I should say. Getting in the shower, being like, I don't think she's going to wake up multiple times, hopefully, because I can kind of tell now. I've been just learning more and more, like how to read her cues, like for sleepy cues for a good nap. And then, okay, if she gets overtired, if she's making these straining sounds and her face is getting red, quickly like try to get her down for a nap. In the past, I was still confused, like, what do you want? What do you need? And it's just definitely like a learning curve to learn all these things. My big takeaway I've been reflecting on is it's totally unrealistic to expect yourself to know how to be a parent and a mom and take care of a baby right off the bat as a new parent. It really just does take time as you adjust and you learn and you get to know your baby, as they say, which during the first month, I was like, what the heck? What does that even mean? Like, it literally honestly felt like my baby was still a stranger. Like, even though I carried her in my womb for 9 months and logically, like, okay, this is my baby. But emotionally, it did take time for me to get out of that survival mode mentality because we just had such a hard first few months. And then finally, when my mental clarity and awareness and health was coming back, I could finally get more into the groove of learning my baby, like learning, okay, this is what she does when she needs this, and this is how she cries and fusses when she does these things, like it probably means this and this, and there's just so many nuances to that. And I think it's just hard coming into parenthood because you just inevitably, in today's modern world, you compare your becoming a new mom, new parent with what you see or hear about on social media or what you hear from other people. But the thing is, everyone's experience is so different, and even month 1 compared to month 3 is so different for us, especially, and everyone's timeline is different too. So all that to say, I wanted to spend some time with this video talking about other game-changing things and realizations. It's not like mind-blowing information, but it's just these little things where it makes a big difference to know, and not everyone knows. These 12 things I didn't know coming into being a new parent, so I'm like, surely other people probably did not know or don't know, and it really makes a big difference. One of them, I'll just give you a bonus one before I even start, is, for example, this is 3 months in. We only recently learned that for bottle feeding, if your baby's lips haven't touched the bottle, it can actually be outside at room temperature for 2 hours. This whole time, I think because we were misinterpreting, we were like, it's still in the haze of like the newborn fog and like survival mode. So we read the instructions on the cans and it says like 1 hour. I just learned from other parents it's 2 hours, and then 1 hour after the lips have touched the nipple, because then that means bacteria has been introduced into the formula, into the milk. So I didn't realize that, and now I can like budget more time, like, okay, she's probably gonna eat around this time and get hungry around this time. I can actually prepare it earlier rather than be frantically like last minute when she's crying. If you also didn't know, when they cry, they take in more air, and that's what also contributes to more spit up and reflux if they have reflux. I was like, oh my gosh, this actually changes a lot, and it's just that one piece of information. So I'm gonna look down because I have some notes, but 12 game-changing pieces of advice for new parents that no one tells you because maybe they've gotten so used to it, it just feels like the norm. Or maybe if you do have experience with babies, you're not surprised by this. But for me and my husband, we had no experience with babies. We did not have any siblings. We didn't know anything coming in besides what we learned in the generic baby classes. But of course, they can't teach you everything. But hopefully by me sharing this, it can help you shortcut and like avoid a lot of pain. Number 1, expect things to be very different at first. This is totally normal. No one talks about the shock of how it can be. Like, before having a baby, your life is more or less predictable. You can control things, you can set things up a certain way, you can choose to do things with your schedule. You're hungry, just whip up some food. It's just very normal things. Or you want to spend time with your spouse, okay, just talk about it and you just do it, and you just have so much more freedom with how you want to choose to use your time. Just even mentally as a mom, I think the hormones really get to you when you're a first-time mom, and it's just like, whoa, like what a shock. I can't believe I just pushed this thing out of me. I remember just feeling I got like catapulted through a portal, this invisible parenthood portal, into a new reality in this alternate universe. That's how it felt, was like, what universe is this? And that's how I felt the first few weeks, especially. To varying degrees, people go through that, but it's going to take time to adjust to your new reality. And that's kind of a common theme I've been learning throughout parenthood. Number two, and I've kind of alluded this before, do not compare your reality to social media highlights. Don't compare your month 1 to someone's month 3. Everybody's timeline of what gets better is different just based on their different circumstances, whether both spouses are working full time or whether they have family nearby or whatever their baby's temperament is and how their baby sleeps and going about breastfeeding or triple feeding, combo feeding, formula, like all these little things create a very entirely different reality. And so just don't compare. I feel like it's harder than ever these days because we have access to social media to like see other people's lives or what we think is their lives. And there's just so much behind the scenes that you can't see. Like admittedly, I post baby pictures and baby videos of just like precious times that we have together because it makes me smile. It makes me happy to like treasure these little moments. But the everyday mundane moments, I'm not like capturing and posting. When I'm doing chores, I'm not documenting that. And when my baby's crying, I'm not documenting that. And so there's just so many things you don't see. And I think as new parents, especially if you don't have exposure to other babies, it's just easy to assume, oh, what you see on social media should be your constant reality. And it's just not. That ties into number 3. Every baby truly is different. What works for other parents may or may not work for yours. Everything is really an experiment and takes time to figure out through trial and error. This I really had a hard time with at first because I was like telling my mom friends, especially with just how she was always crying and cranky and screaming because of her reflux and just all of these different things we just couldn't figure out. And I was getting super triggered as a new mom, being like, oh my gosh, why is my baby crying all the time? Like, why can't I soothe her? Like, I'm not cut out for this. Like, aren't moms supposed to be able to soothe their babies like super easily? And those are just all misconceptions. It's just different. Like, some babies are barely cry apparently and other babies are crying all the time. And as a new mom, you're not expected to know what to do about the crying right away or what's wrong or what's going on. I told my mom friends, I can't wrap my head around like the fact that I can't figure out what's causing XYZ. There's so many different factors. What is the cause? What is the root cause? And the reality of parenthood really is there are many times you actually won't know the root cause, especially right away. And you kind of just have to go with the flow and trust that you're trying your best and you're going to figure things out on the way. Things will get clearer. You're going to have more time to think clearly and be more stable and be more regulated. But it's totally normal, especially the first few months, for it to feel like a very steep learning curve where you don't know what's going on. You don't know what to do. And everything is trial and error and you're trying to puzzle everything together. And it's so confusing because you're running on little sleep and you can't think straight and you have postpartum fog. Your hormones are all over the place. It's not that case for everyone, but that was definitely the case for me. There is a degree to, yeah, sometimes there are things you can learn and things that you can do and implement to help. But at the same time, your baby is just sometimes not going to react the same way. One thing was like hearing from other parents, like, oh, this one song always calms my baby. Like, you'll learn little things that will calm your baby. And the first few weeks, I'm like, what in the world? Like, I don't understand how I'm going to have the ability to learn what songs. Like, I don't even have time to take a shower right now, But now, 3 months in, we know certain songs and certain activities that our baby likes. The timeline is different for everyone, but for us, around week 7, we could start to see more facial expressions, so you can more easily tell what they like, what they don't like. But it really changed week 10 and a half. I made a video about this, about how my newborn transformed into a baby. Literally, it felt like overnight. Especially in these past 2 weeks, I'm seeing when she likes something, when she doesn't like something, when she's feeling cranky or uncomfortable, versus in the newborn stage, they have like 0 facial expression variety. So it's so hard to tell, like, do you like this? Do you not? It just takes time. Number 4 is you don't need to entertain your baby all the time. You can actually multitask with your baby, especially once they're more manageable, when they become more regulated in their nervous system. If they are super, super fussy and colicky as a newborn, like ours was, it just takes time for them, their nervous system, their digestive system to regulate so that they can actually sit comfortably or lay comfortably in a place for whatever amount of time. And you can actually go do the dishes while they're playing on the playmat. Or right now, she's napping and I'm recording this video without being too nervous that she'll continue waking up multiple times like she used to. Okay, number 5, you can wake your baby up from napping if it means a better schedule. Okay, I need to do a separate video on baby sleep, but I was like so confused about this for like the first almost 3 months. People say never wake a sleeping baby, but then, you know, there's these schedules. So how do they stay on schedule? Like, do they just naturally learn those schedules? I had so many questions, and I'm still honestly figuring out baby sleep. It finally clicked for me a few days ago, and it's finally been getting better in terms of managing her schedule, because I'm learning it definitely is a balance of following her cues, you know, noticing when she's sleepy or hungry or wants to engage or disengage, whatever, or has a diaper. But also you can also set parameters that try to encourage a certain schedule. So if she's sleeping for 2 hours and you actually want to cut back to 1.5 hours, because you know that later on in the day, if she sleeps too much, she's going to have basically too much daytime sleep that's going to steal from her nighttime sleep. You basically can wake her up at a certain point. You don't want to wake her up like 10 minutes into her nap or 20 minutes ideally, unless it's like the last nap of the day. But there's like so many of these like little things that it just takes time. It just takes experience to learn as you go. It's kind of like with any new job, like you can learn all the information before you start a job, but it's not really going to make sense fully until you're in the job. Yeah, that's been a big learning thing for me, is learning the balance of following her cues, noticing her cues, and then also adapting and being flexible with how to try to stay on some semblance of a schedule. But also it's really hard to do when they're a newborn, because at that point they're just like all over the place, hungry, tired, like they don't really have any regulation or rhythm that is predictable. Now that we're at 3 months, I'm starting to finally notice like, oh, she is able to sleep longer stretches for her naps without constantly waking up, and those things that are just so different. It's like little things, but it makes like such a big difference to how your experience is. Okay, number 6 is music is so powerful when it comes to soothing or engaging your baby. I remember being so surprised at this probably around the beginning of month 2 when I started playing like calm music while feeding her, and I noticed, oh, she calmed down. She was able to be soothed by the music, and I was like, oh wow, this whole time again, this is like a whole separate rabbit hole, but basically when you're a new mom and you're overwhelmed and you're like, what in the world just happened, it's so easy to forget your baby is a human being, not just like this screaming potato. It just took a while for me to recognize like, oh, these little things that would calm me down or would bother me actually also do the same for her, especially now that she's older and a lot more aware. I think that's a big game changer, is when they become more aware around closer to the 3-month mark. It really makes a big difference now when we play soft calming music or a certain song, the Happy Song by Imogen Heap. Any new parents, you need to try that song because it calms a lot of babies down when they're crying. Experiment with certain songs, but I will just say our baby loves music. Like when it's soothing, when it's calming, and when she's awake and alert, she starts smiling. When my husband plays guitar and sings with her, when I'm singing with her and she's in a good mood, of course. Don't underestimate the power of music. Number 7, babies learn better than you think. I think a lot of people don't realize babies really pick up on consistent routines and things that you just get them used to, like they will adapt to and actually prefer and want, because they like predictability and consistency. I heard that's even more so the case when they are toddlers. It's so cute now at night when my husband brings out a book, because we usually read to her a little bit before we put her down for sleep. He goes, ready to read, tap 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 onto the hardcover book, and our baby now smiles so she's like so excited, and she could be crying and fussing 1 minute, but as soon as he goes ready to read, tap tap tap, she just like can't help but smile, and it's so cute. Same with feeding. Like we have a specific spot on the couch where we have her feed usually, and I'll sit her in a certain direction, and as soon as we put her there, she knows it's time to eat, and so she starts crying. If we don't have the bottle ready, she starts crying because she suddenly remembers she's hungry. What else? So there's a lot of different philosophies about sleep training. I will say there's a lot of misconceptions, and gentle sleep training is our approach that we've taken, and it's amazing. It is a game changer. Seriously, I think a lot of people just don't understand what it means. Like they think it's like crying it out and making your baby so stressed and neglecting them, which I totally get, because as a new parent, like I also had a lot of questions about it. But I'll just say, go to Taking Care of Babies website. They have an article on this about myths on sleep training, and if you're not open to it, it really cuts you off from so many possibilities of having sanity in your life again, because your baby, if they don't learn the skill of falling asleep independently and connecting their sleep cycles of like light sleep and deep sleep, it makes it really, really hard to do anything anything else really. My mom, for example, said for 2 years, back in the day before the internet, for 2 years, she dealt with me waking up every 3 hours, and she basically didn't have a life. She couldn't function or until like the 1 year mark. That's when she finally could take me out. But for 2 years, she didn't know what to do because she didn't know sleep training, and she just let me kind of just like naturally, go in and out of sleep, and dealt with all the sleep regressions that inevitably happen when babies grow and develop. My dad had to get takeout every day, and it's just like, oh my goodness, things would have been so different for her if she had known about sleep training. And we are just so privileged nowadays to have access to education and resources and the internet, and AI, and there's an abundance of resources. The key is not to be overwhelmed by them because it can be a lot, but I would just highly recommend, if you're a soon-to-be parent, look into Taking Care of Babies newborn course. It's a huge game changer, and it saves us so much sanity because sleep makes a big difference. Number 8, it's best to learn from moms who are just a little bit ahead of you, not too much, because what I'm learning in parenting is because your reality continues to change so much, it's hard to remember things past a certain point. Like, I barely remember the newborn stage, and it's only been 3 months. One of my friends is about to give birth soon, and she was asking me things about newborn, and I was like, oh my gosh, what even happened? Like, it was such a blur. So what I've noticed is when I ask moms who are much more seasoned, farther along down, they're so focused on their season that it's hard to remember what worked or what didn't, or what they did back in the newborn stage. So I think what's been helpful is talking to moms who either really vividly remember for some reason, maybe because they thought a lot about it, had time to process and document what actually happened, or just parents, moms especially, who are just a little bit ahead. Number 9, your marriage, relationships, self-care, and house chores and systems, etc., will all look very different in your new reality, and it will take time to figure out new rhythms. So this actually ties back with number 1, expect things to be very different. Wow, I did not know how much our marriage would look different. And again, people just don't talk about the details of it, and so I'll do a separate video on this. I really want to, because, I really considered, and I still do, me and my husband's marriage to be very strong. I wasn't worried about it at all because I heard marriage will look different, blah, blah, blah. But I wrongfully assumed, I was like, no, we're really good. Like, we're very intentional about connecting, talking about our emotions and balancing, our needs and each other's needs. But what I didn't know back then, before having a baby, was even the strongest marriage will be inevitably rocked because your dynamic just inevitably changes when you introduce a baby into the mix. And I'm sure it's going to be the same, for multiple kids down the road, if God willing that happens. But I do think people don't talk about like how hard it can be to adjust to your new reality, how much you miss spending quality time together whenever you want, and doing things that are fun, and going on spontaneous adventures, and staying up as late as you want, and waking up whenever fits your own schedule. Like, now with a baby, you're so much more restricted with your time. So the newborn stage, we definitely had a lot less time to connect and talk because we were just so exhausted and sleep deprived. And so, if we were lucky, we would have maybe 30 minutes at the end of the day, 15 minutes even, to just cuddle and like check in really briefly before one of us, goes to sleep for early sleep shift, because she wasn't sleeping through the night yet. But now she's at a point where she can thankfully sleep through the night. So we are able to spend like maybe 2 hours after we put her down to bed to hang out, spend time, but also have our alone time as well. So it's definitely a balance. We're trying to figure things out still with our rhythms and routines, but it's a season, and I'm just continually encouraged thinking back about how things are so different 3 months later compared to when we first became parents. And so I know things will continue to get better as we learn to adapt and figure out a new routine and rhythm that works for us as things continually change. It goes back to not comparing. Like, you see on social media, oh, like couples doing this and like having so much fun, even though their baby's only at like 2 months old or 1 month old, and you just don't see like they have help. Or their baby actually sleeps longer than yours for some reason, or isn't as fussy, so I think the biggest thing is, don't get frustrated that your reality is so hard when you think that it should be the same for everyone, when it's just not. And even self-care, right? Like, I was frustrated, like, oh my gosh, why am I not able to do self-care? Like, I know I should. The reality is you're in survival mode. So to have grace for yourself, and everyone's timeline is different. So it's okay if your self-care looks different. My self-care the first month, I talked about this, was watching Beast Games with my husband during one of her naps, and it was often interrupted. And so that's what gave me joy, that anticipation every week to be able to look forward to that. And now one of my forms of self-care is is thankfully my husband is able to watch her for a bit every week, and I can do postpartum therapy. I can do my pelvic floor therapy as well, and I can record videos like this. And this is part of my what I consider self-care too, to kind of document and process and also help other people by sharing what is going on and how I've been navigating first-time motherhood. But it was a lot harder to do all those things, virtually impossible the first month when we were still like drowning in everything. Okay, number 10, you need a minimum of 4 hours of sleep uninterrupted to function. If you're getting anything less, prioritize sleep and let go of the rest. I came in with the expectation that, things are just going to be pretty smooth and I should be able to do all these things while also taking care of the baby full time. No, wrong. Again, just depending on how things are, you could be like my mom. I mentioned for 2 years, she had to sleep in and just was so exhausted because I wasn't sleeping for more than 3 hours. Yeah, my OB/GYN told me at my 6-week appointment, and I was like, why didn't you tell me this earlier? She said that we need an uninterrupted 4 hours minimum in order to function. Otherwise, we are just an emotional mess. And my postpartum depression was just all over the place and exacerbated. My hormones were still really out of balance, so that was also worsened whenever I didn't get enough sleep. So it's hard to explain until you're in it, but I wish someone had explained to me, like, this expectation you have is unrealistic. Go and get sleep and then do the chores later, or have somebody else, have your husband help later. It can wait. I think a lot of it is like rewiring your mindset around expectations around chores and things needing to be clean or organized a certain way, and things being out of order. It is a big adjustment because prior to having a baby, you could just do all that. Number 11, practice being present instead of always thinking of all the things you need to do, because this phase really is so short. This is something I'm telling myself every day, and it is really hard, I will say, because there's like a mental list as a mom, a mental load that you carry of like, oh, we gotta like make sure I cook enough meals to last us certain days, or I need to restock on these supplies, or I need to do laundry, or there's so many things that you need to do. But I've been trying to just practice being present with my baby and enjoying her and cuddling her and like playing with her, giving her hugs and laughing with her. She has grown so fast in such a short amount of time. I feel like the past 3 months just like flew by in a blur, and I just know at this rate she's gonna be like a year old and 5 years old soon enough, and I just don't want to miss out on her childhood. I've been trying to practice, now that we're kind of out of the drowning phase of survival mode, I'm trying to train my mind around that mentality, like things will get done later, which ties in with the previous fact. Number 12, and this is a theme across really all of the things I just shared, flexibility and embracing the unexpected and the uncontrollable is key. For many, this takes more time to learn. I'm not sure if every mom actually goes through this. Let me know in the comments if you didn't go through this, or maybe you did, I don't know, but a lot of parents, I think dads too, it does take time to adjust to how things are just really out of your control, because when you don't have a baby, again, you're two functioning adults, you can just kind of do what you want and prevent spills and prevent stains, and it's on you, but it's like, it's not a common occurrence, if that makes sense. And with our baby, it's like, oh, she can just pee on herself regularly and have blowouts like all the time because she has like really big poops. Our baby really does. We've tried all the diapers and she still has blowouts. It's just like learning to embrace the unexpected and messes. I had a realization, oh, I think a lot of my anxiety is due to actually the lack of cleanliness, especially in terms of taking her out. Because I was like, why am I so anxious about taking her out? Like, technically I don't need to be so anxious anymore because she is a lot more calm and manageable now at this point. And I realized a lot of it was tied with, what if she has a big blowout in the car seat? What if she spits up all over herself and I'm in the driver's seat and I can't wipe her, clean enough before she like spills everything everywhere? And what if I'm carrying her and she spits up all over the carpet, or whatever? And so I'm just like realizing, oh, a lot of my anxiety is still tied with trying to control things that ultimately, realistically, just cannot always be controlled, or cannot be prevented, I should say. She'll sometimes just have a fussy day and be really hard to soothe, or she'll wake up intermittently in her naps, and those things you just need to embrace and learn to be flexible with, rather than being like, oh, that like ruined my schedule or interrupted what I was doing. And like that initial frustration is just so normal because it's not what you're used to. Yeah, those are just some things. I'm gonna save the rest for other videos, but I hope that really helps new parents and soon-to-be parents kind of come into this with managed expectations of what to expect, but then also what you can know is the reality of things, so that it can save you a lot of headache and frustration that I know would have saved me a lot of sanity if I had known earlier. So let me know in the comments if this helped you at all, or if this resonated with you, or if you're a parent and you had other revelations that you didn't realize until later on, but it really changed everything for you and made your life better. Drop that in the comments. I would love to hear. I think it's awesome just to hear from other parents because it makes you know you're not alone. So hopefully this also makes other parents feel like you're not alone and you're not dumb or behind for having these revelations later on as a new parent. See you guys later.